quiet stretch of dunes on Long Island hid a terrible secret for years. Bodies discovered in the drift line, lives erased, and questions that would span decades. Welcome to Frozen Files, where the mysteries of the past come back to life. What began as one missing woman's frantic run to 911 became a mosaic of victims, investigators, and a cold case hunt that would not be satisfied. This is the Gilgo Beach story, the hunt for answers along Ocean Parkway, the families who refused to let their daughters be forgotten, and the modern science that finally forced the case back into the light. It starts with a voice asking for help. In 2010, the disappearance of Shannan Gilbert triggered searches that uncovered remains along the marshes and dune lines near Gilgo Beach. What investigators found over the weeks that followed were multiple victims, many of whom had worked as escorts, women whose lives were marginalized by society. Therefore, their disappearances drew slow attention, even as grief ran deep. Those first discoveries changed a local community forever. They also drew a national spotlight on a case that would be stitched with uncertainty, rumor, and the steady insistence of families demanding answers. Early investigations moved through fits and starts. Detectives sifted remains, mapped a crime scene that stretched across Suffolk County, and collected leads that sometimes refused to cohere. The victims shared painful commonalities. Many were small in stature, many used online escort services, and many disappeared after conversations or late-night meetups. That pattern suggested a predator who hunted convenience, anonymity, and control. The pattern pushed investigators to seek connections across years of missing person reports and scattered tips. At the same time, the case fractured public imagination. Podcasts, amateur sleuths, and documentaries multiplied theories. Some helpful leads emerged from crowdsourced attention. Other threads led to distraction. The families, however, remained a constant force pressing for answers. Then the case went quiet enough to feel frozen, but not closed. Investigators kept files open while technology marched forward. For years, DNA traces were too degraded. Digital trails were thin. Physical evidence rested in evidence rooms, waiting for methods that could squeeze meaning from the smallest trace. It is worth pausing here. This case reminds us that forensic science is evolutionary. Techniques once impossible in the 1990s now find truth in molecules too faint to read before. The patient accumulation of new methods would prove decisive. In July 2023, Suffolk County Police made a dramatic arrest when they charged Rex Heuermann, a Long Island architect, with multiple counts related to the Gilgo Beach victims. That arrest reopened a case that many had thought stalled. Prosecutors described a mosaic of evidence, phone records, financial links, digital searches, and forensic traces that together formed a picture the investigators believed pointed to Heuermann. Families cautiously hoped. Neighbors expressed shock as media cycles amplified each new filing. The justice system, slow by design, began its procedural work. Charges expanded over time. In 2024 and into 2025, prosecutors added counts that tied Heuermann to additional victims. Authorities said DNA analysis using advanced methods linked him to multiple slayings. Those announcements were seismic for families who had waited for decades for movement in the files. Yet every public statement came tethered to caution. Prosecutors emphasized the need for court validation of forensic methods, while the defense challenged certain laboratory findings. The contest between scientific progress and legal standards would soon become as central to the story as the crimes themselves. Recent court rulings have illustrated the tension. Judges have been asked to rule whether advanced DNA techniques, whole genome, or highly sensitive mitochondrial analyses applied to degraded hairs and trace material are admissible under New York law. Prosecutors argued these methods can extract reliable profiles from otherwise useless samples. Defense teams warned about novelty, contamination risk, and chain of custody questions. In several decisions, the courts allowed the newer DNA evidence to be heard at trial. In others, judges reserved judgment or required further reliability showings. Those legal battles matter because they determine whether cutting-edge science will be the thread that ties suspicion to proof in court. But beyond headlines and court filings, the victims remain the story's heart. Maureen Brainerd Barnes, Amber Costello, Megan Waterman, Melissa Barthelemy, the women known as the Gilgo Four, were daughters, friends, workers with dreams and routines that meant something to those who loved them. Later additions to the list and other identified victims remind us that these are not just case numbers. Families have endured years of uncertainty, second-guessing, and re-traumatization from public scrutiny. Their advocacy spurred renewed investigative energy and media attention that would not let the files collect dust. A respectful retelling centers their humanity over lurid speculation. The ask for justice is not merely prosecutorial, it is moral. Modern investigations have combined old-fashioned legwork with new tools. Detectives examined phone metadata and burner phone patterns. Data analysts reconstructed routes. Forensic teams applied advanced DNA extraction to degraded materials. In several instances, prosecutors described locating DNA on items like a pizza box or a soda can, traces that, when run through modern pipelines, produce linkages that were previously invisible. Investigators also used digital forensics to connect online advertisements, financial records, and vehicle registrations. The case shows how multiple small threads can weave a prosecutable fabric. Alone, weak. Together, compelling. Still, uncertainty remains a stubborn companion. Not every body found along Ocean Parkway was definitively linked in motive or perpetrator. Some deaths remained of different origin. Some hypotheses that once seemed plausible later dissolved under scrutiny. The legal standard for conviction is high for a reason. The public hunger for answers sometimes outran caution. That tension between a community's demand for closure and the legal system's demand for proof plays out in hearings, motions, and the slow tread of discovery. It is a messy, sometimes heartbreaking dance between grief and legal formality. What does the future hold? Courts will continue to rule on the admissibility of new DNA methods. Prosecutors will press forward where they believe evidence supports charges. Defense teams will push back where science or procedure is in doubt. Private researchers and families will keep pressing for transparency. Documentary filmmakers will keep telling parts of the story that otherwise fade. For the public, the most important actions are careful. Share verified updates, avoid amplifying unproven claims about living people, and if you hold credible information, give it to detectives through official channels. Rumor and speculation can wound. Verified evidence can free the path to justice. This case also reframes how we think about cold cases. Some stories are solved by single discoveries. Others are solved by long accumulations of small, patient advances. In Gilgo, technology met tenacity. That collision produced arrests and charges, but also required legal and ethical adjudication. That balance between forensic possibility and courtroom proof is the modern reality of cold case justice. Before we close, remember the faces behind the files. Families still light candles on summer nights. Friends still mark birthdays that no longer arrive in calls. Justice, where it comes, will answer more than legal questions. It will answer a human longing for recognition and dignity. For now, investigators continue to piece together roots, records, and molecules. Courts will test the science, and communities will watch, hopeful and wary. If you have credible, verifiable information about any of these cases, contact Suffolk County Police or the FBI. Don't post accusations online where they can harm innocent people or derail investigations. Links to official resources and primary reporting are in the description below. Please use them responsibly. This is a story about vanished lives, relentless families, and the slow-turning gears of modern forensic work. It is about a shore where answers washed in, therefore sometimes receded. It is about persistence that refuses to let a cold case stay cold. We will keep watching. Therefore, we will keep asking the same question the families have always asked. Who took them, and why? When that door finally opens, it will not only close a file, it will restore a voice.